Hey all, today's book's Hey Jack, The Worst Sleepover by Sally Rippen. Jack's in a wiggly mood. He feels like jumping with excitement and he can't stay still. Chapter 1. This is Jack. Today, Jack is in a wiggly mood. He is wiggling and jiggling so much he can't keep still. Tonight, Jack's going to his friend Jem's house. Jack has never had a sleepover at Jem's before. Jem has a Wii and a PlayStation and a computer in his room. Jack and Jem are going to play games all night. Jack can't wait. Oh, no wonder he's in a wiggly mood. At last, it's time to go. Jack's dad drives to Jem's house and Jem opens the front door. "Hey, Jack," says Jem, "you're finally here." "Jem's very excited," says Jem's mum to Jack. "Me too," says Jack. The two boys run into Jem's room. "See you tomorrow," Jack's dad calls. I don't think Jack even turns around and says goodbye to Dad. Might be quite emotional for Dad as well, saying goodbye to Jack if he hasn't ever had a sleepover at Jem's before. He might be feeling a bit nervous or proud, or a bit of both. Jem's room's very cool. First, Jack and Jem race cars on the PlayStation. Next, they play sport on the Wii. Do you know Wii? W-I-I? Then they go on the computer to build cities. It's lots of fun. Maybe they're playing Minecraft. "Let's go outside and play soccer," says Jem after a while. "Nah," says Jack. "How about we build a cubby then?" says Jem. I think cubbies are great to build. Cubbies are like a tent, you get all your cushions and your couches and sheets and blankets, and you make a little hut inside. Jack shakes his head. He's too busy playing on the computer. "Well, I'm going outside," says Jem crossly, and he stomps out of the room. Oh, we can see the problem. Thinks Jack. What's wrong with Jem? He quickly finishes his game and then he goes outside to look for Jem. Jem's in the garden. He's kicking a soccer ball against the fence. Jack goes over to see if Jem's okay. Wonder how Jem is feeling. He's been so excited to have Jack for a sleepover, and then Jack has played on the computer instead of playing with Jem. But just then, Jem's mum calls them for dinner. Jem rushes past Jack without even looking at him. Jack follows him inside. He feels confused. Jem is acting very strangely. So Jack and Jem are not on the same page as far as their feelings and their emotions and their understanding. So I guess they're going to have to communicate better. Chapter 2. Jack and Jem sit up at the table. "I hope you like spicy food, Jack," Jem's mum asks. Sure, says Jack. He's too shy to say that he's never actually tried spicy food before. Jem's mum puts a big dish on the table. Oh no, there's so many emotions in this story, because now Jack doesn't know how to say that he's never tried spicy food. And no one minds if you say you've never tried something, or you don't know something, or you don't understand something. It's so much easier to take a deep breath and just say it, even if you feel a bit embarrassed or confused. Then the people around you can support you. "Not curry again," Jem grumbles. "Jem," says his mother crossly, "you'll eat what you're given." Jem's mum puts some rice on Jack's plate. Whew, Jack thinks, I do like rice. But then she spoons curry over the rice. Jack can see chicken, carrots and potatoes in the yellow sauce. Jack doesn't like carrots much, and he's feeling nervous. Jack looks at Jem. He's eating everything. Jack pokes his fork into a piece of chicken and he puts that in his mouth. Suddenly his mouth starts to burn and his eyes start to water. "Oh dear," says Jem's mum, "is the curry too hot for you?" Hot as in spicy. Jack swallows the chicken. Then he takes a big drink of water to try to cool his mouth. "Maybe a little bit," he says to Jem's mum in a squeaky voice. should have communicated at the beginning, right? Jem giggles and Jack frowns. Why is Jen laughing at me? He thinks. His cheeks get red and hot. That's all right, Jack, she says. You don't have to eat it. I don't know what I'm going to give you for dinner, though. I like rice, says Jack shyly. Please, can I have rice, Jem asks as well. And maybe Jem's being a good friend and eating what Jack wants because Jack's the guest. So Jem's making Jack feel welcome and fine. That would be a really kind thing to do if you're having a play date or a sleepover. You look after the guest. You're the host, even if it's your close friends. Jem's mum shakes her head. Jack's our guest. He's allowed to eat what he wants, but you need to finish your dinner as usual. She gives Jack a bowl of plain rice. Oh, that's not fair, says Jem crossly. Sorry, whispers Jack to Jem, but Jem pretends not to hear. The sleepover is not going very well. Jem eats all his dinner without looking at Jack once. Jack can't understand why Jem is acting so strangely. Would you boys like to watch a DVD before you go to bed? Asks Jem's mum. I have to do some work. Yes, please, said Jack. Whatever. I don't care, says Jem grumpily. He sits down on the couch next to Jack. The two boys watch a movie. The movie's very funny, but Jem doesn't laugh once. Jack wishes he was back at home. At least when he watches a movie with his mum or dad, they laugh at the funny bits. Jack's feeling a little bit grumpy with Jem now. Jack has been looking forward to this sleepover for a long time. It was supposed to be the best sleepover ever. Instead, it's turned out to be the worst. Chapter 3. After the movie, it's time for bed. Jack and Jem change into their pyjamas and they brush their teeth. Jem's mum comes to say goodnight. Hope you boys are having fun, she says. Don't stay up too late talking, will you? Jack lies in the dark and wishes his mum and dad were here to kiss him goodnight. Instead, there was just grumpy old Jem who won't even talk to him. Really, Jem has to realise as well that Jack's away from home, so he might be feeling a bit nervous or homesick. Yeah. Jack feels lonely. He wonders if it's too late to call his mum and dad to come and get him. Just then he hears a noise, a sniffly, snuffly sound. Jack realised that Jem is crying. What's the matter? Asks Jack. Jem stops crying and says nothing. Now Jack feels cross. Why won't you talk to me? He says. Jem sits up in bed and turns on his bedside lamp. You are the boringest friend ever, he says. What? Yells Jack. No, I'm not. You are. You said we could play games all night and now you don't want to. Jack is so angry he feels like he could explode. There's some big feelings going on and suddenly Jem bursts out laughing. What? Says Jack. You look funny, Jem giggles. I've never seen you look that cross before. You look like an angry monkey. Jack tries not to smile, but Jem's laughter makes his mouth twitch. See, now Jack's decided not to get offended being called an angry monkey. He's decided to laugh along with it, and then they're going to have a happy night. Jack had a choice. He could have got angry with Jem saying you look like an angry monkey, and it would have all gone wrong. So anyway, Jack tries not to smile, but Jem's laughter makes his mouth twitch. Well, you look like a grumpy gorilla, he says. Jem laughs. You should have seen your face when you tasted Mum's curry. You went all red like a baboon's bottom. Jack frowns. I haven't eaten spicy food before and it's not my fault. Don't worry, Jem says kindly. You have to get used to it. I've been eating curries since I was a baby. Do you really think I'm a boring friend? Of course not. I just wanted you to come and play soccer, that's all. Yeah, but you have so many cool video games. Don't you want to play with them? Not all the time, says Jem. Usually it's just me and Mum at home. I have to play video games by myself, and it gets boring. She never wants to play soccer. That's why I was excited about you coming over. Finally, someone to play soccer with. Now they understand each other. Jack feels bad. He might not have any video games, but he always has someone to play with. His dog Scraps, his best friend Billy, his mum and dad sometimes. and he was so excited to play Jem's games that he hadn't thought about what Jem might want to do and how Jem was feeling. "All right," says Jack, "tomorrow it's your turn to decide what we play." "Cool," says Jem, "but don't you want to beat my high score on the computer first?" "Nah," says Jack, smiling. "I think I'd like to beat you at soccer. That sounds like much more fun." Communication, compromise. Don't always get what you want when you're with your friends, but if you compromise and sort of meet in the middle, or one time you do what your friend wants, another time they do what you want, then you're actually going to have a much happier time and a much, much healthier and happier friendship. I hope that book helps you think about how you interact with your friends. So when you go and play with your friend today, think about that and be happy and cheerful and communicate your emotions, and realize that people are not always going to do what you want to do. Okay? You have to compromise. All right, bye.